Just before we start the video, I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers so I can get my own custom URL, so I'd appreciate a quick subscribe. Thank you. It's kind of crazy how time flies, but yes, it really has been 4 years since Netflix decided to curse our screens with their very own release of Death Note. If for some reason you clicked on this video without knowing what Death Note is, let me give you a quick rundown of what happens in the original manga or anime. So we've got this guy called Light Yagami. He's probably the smartest student in Japan. He comes across this note called the Death Note, which was dropped into the human world by a god of death called Ryuk. The Death Note pretty much lets you kill any living human as long as you know their name and their face. And because the Death Note originally belonged to Ryuk, he has to follow Light around as long as he has the Death Note. Light decides he wants to become the god of a new peaceful world and get rid of everything bad in it. And of course he does this by trying to kill every criminal there is. Pretty soon people begin realizing that something's happening because hundreds and hundreds of criminals are just dying back to back, all of heart attacks. I forgot to mention that if you don't specify a death in the Death Note, it will just default to a heart attack. We then get introduced to a character known as L. No one actually knows his real name, but he is the best detective on the planet who has never left any case unsolved. A bunch of things happen which basically result in L and Light becoming best friends or even lovers as they work on a case together. You can't deny it, not after that one scene. You know what I'm talking about, they are gay.
What are you doing?
I thought I might help you out. You were busy wiping yourself off anyway.
L basically knows Light is the killer the entire time and is just desperately trying to get enough evidence to prove it. All the while Light is desperately trying to find out L's real name so we can kill him with the Death Note. So basically the rest of the show is just this really interesting cat and mouse type deal, made even more interesting by the fact that L and Light are just so similar to each other, but at the same time they are like polar opposites. Partly because the main motive behind both their actions is justice, but the context for justice for each of them could not be more different. I'd really recommend you watch the show if you haven't. I don't want to spoil too much more, but just trust me, you won't regret it. But that was back in 2006. So let's fast forward to June of 2017 when Netflix decided to drop their very own trailer for the live action adaptation of Death Note. What could go wrong? The trailer starts off by showing Light getting the shit kicked out of him by a group of bullies. Already we have our first major difference, as Light was not bullied as a student, he was popular as fuck. Like, this man had girls lining up to date him. His popularity is actually a fairly important plot point in the anime, and they use it for themselves in the case. And they've just gone, nah, that's not important. We're just gonna change a whole aspect of the main character's character. Why? I don't know. Another thing about the bullies is that it's literally part of Light's morals to not use the note for any petty murders, like for school bullies. Then in this fucking movie, his first victim when he's trying out the Death Note is a school bully. That's right, they've changed Light's character even more by turning him into a complete fucking moron. Literally the opposite of what he was written to be. And that isn't the only example of him being an idiot. In the anime, Light is extremely cautious with using the Death Note and where he keeps it hidden. He sets up this little contraption in his drawer that basically means if you open the drawer wrong, it will set the note on fire and only he knows how to open it correctly. But then in the Netflix adaptation, Light is just using it out in the open in his gym class, and some girl approaches him and asks him what it is, and he just fucking tells her, like, straight up. We can assume the girl is supposed to be Misa Amane, just because it makes sense, but Light in the anime doesn't actually have feelings for Misa, and he just uses her to his advantage. However, Netflix Light just tells her about the Death Note for the purpose of getting laid. He tells the girl that he doesn't know that he owns the most dangerous weapon in existence, just for some puss. This version of Light could not be further from the original depiction. Yet another thing that sets him aside from the original is the scene where he is confronted with Ryuk, the god of death, or Shinigami if you will.
You've taken quite a liking to it. No reason to act surprised. I am the Shinigami Ryuk. That used to be my notebook. Judging by your laughter, you've already figured out that what you have is no ordinary notebook.
Shinigami. A god of death, huh? Well, I'm not surprised. In fact, I've been waiting.
In the original, we see Light is momentarily startled, but he quickly collects himself and tries to work out what is standing in front of him. He stands up and acts formal, and even says he's been expecting him. He explains to Ryuk what he's planning to do with the Death Note. Light does not show fear towards Ryuk and even treats him as a guest in his house. Live action Light, on the other hand, it's too different. It's unacceptable. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. There's nothing calm or smart about this. There's nothing light about this. Another thing that really bothered me about the movie is how clearly desperate they were to get it to be rated an 18 for some unknown reason. The only reason it became an 18 is because of the unnecessary gore that was just shoehorned in there. I've got nothing else to say other than it was unnecessary shock factor. It was completely unneeded. The original series was not like that at all. It didn't rely on anything like that for reactions from the audience. It was just plain good gothic writing. There's loads of other small details that have changed. I'd love to go into more detail, but they're not really that big. Like how Light no longer has a sister or a mother, and his dad is an absolute arsehole. L is a complete crybaby, and the rules of the Death Note are changed quite a bit. Like the original Death Note clearly states that it only works on humans, but in the Netflix version, Ryuk implies that it could be used on him. And the 6 minutes and 40 seconds rule is extended to 5 days or some shit like that. There's one scene where L basically just starts chasing Light through the back streets of whatever town it's set in. It doesn't make any sense. These are supposed to be two of the smartest people on the planet, and they're chasing each other. They're not talking like two smart people would do. It's just absurd. But I think the main thing that made its adaptation so bad was the fact that it was so fucking Americanized. This thing really feels like someone took Riverdale, 13 Reasons Why, and Death Note and mashed it into some ugly film that doesn't work at all. I genuinely think this is the main reason why it was so bad. I feel like if they had kept the original Japanese cast and was actually set in Japan, it would have had so much more potential. It has all the pure trash tropes of an American teen drama. Like they have all the jocks and the nerds and the emos, which are just being completely milked dry by this point. I think society needs to let that one go. But seriously, what happened to this insane genius megalomaniac that we've all grown to love in a weird way? They made him into some weird pasty white boy who would sit at the back of a class with a duffel bag and a trench coat. I don't really have much else to say about this. I think I made my opinions quite clear, and judging from the general reaction of the internet, I think most people would agree with me. Also, I know I haven't been uploading that frequently. I try to promise myself that I'll upload once a week or even once a month, but that just never works. Apologies. Yeah, that's all I have to say on it. Thank you for watching.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.